So nice to meet you. How are you?
Hi. Hi.
My name is Ilmur Stefansdo. Actually, I use the name Maria Rivera when I speak in English because of my Puerto Rican background. So that you will probably remember, not Ilmur Stefansdo. I just want to tell you and go through some photos. I started working 30 years ago, and my background is visual arts. And I started studying in Iceland, and then I went to Goldsmiths in London. And I have been doing performance art since I started working. And now I work in the National Theatre. I am a part of the staff there. I do sets, and then I perform outside of the theatre. And I just recently finished a big show where we were using huge puppets, and it's a children's play that we made. So I will show you a few pictures later on. But first I want to go through sort of quickly through the process of my work. So I started working in visual arts, but my art was always very sort of object-based and performance-based, so that led me into the theatre. And we established a theatre group 20 years ago, me and a few friends, that is called Common Nonsense. So we have been working as an independent company within the big theatres in Iceland. It's a very small, we're very few in the field in Iceland. It's so, small population. But I started exploring, and what I have been doing the whole time is exploring objects and how we use them, and sort of maybe challenging our use of objects and how we approach our sort of daily habits, maybe I could say. So I started because my background was textiles, so that was, I was using thread, so that led me into using thread that is with light in it. So I started making objects that have lights, thread lights that sort of blink and move. And I was using them for the body to sort of like, empower your brain, or affect your eyes, and etc. And you can ask me at any point if I'm being unclear or you don't understand. Okay. Yeah. So these are the first sort of light objects that I made. These are spectacles to change your views, and so they're all a bit silly. And I'm very often asked, do they work? And I'm always like, yeah, this changes how you think. And this as well. So I very often use found objects and change them, find a new function for them. Yeah. So this is an energizer, and I sort of named them. And I also have very often, it's fun to invent new names for objects also. And there I just made a few experiments at home, using household utensils in a different way, like ironing bread and vacuuming the air. So I sort of like to look at objects that, exist, and we are taught how to use them, but I think we can explore them much more and use them in so many different ways. Vacuuming the dishes. This is just a CD. Of course, we don't have that anymore. Using that as a mirror. Vacuuming outdoors. Do you see the pictures? Yeah, it's okay. And this was, of course, an invention at the time, but now it's very natural to show something on the phone. And this was a mixer. It's supposed to be used for the shower in England. That's what they do. Instead of changing the shower, objects, they just mix it with a plastic extension. And this I named Splash and Go. It's just a normal water bottle and then I put this shower head on top. So you can, and there is a traveling hair dryer and a balancer. So I put like a line in the glasses to hold keep balance on the streets. And as I say, people ask me, does it work? And I always say yes. Safety belt at home. And washing yourself and the clothes at the same time. I'm very young, as you can see in the pictures. Using this to thaw the freezer, a hair dryer, and mixing together a book and a refrigerator. So very often it's also looking at how objects relate and how you could sort of mix them together. Mowing the carpet and having a safety helmet, a traveling chair, eating and going to the toilet at the same time, so which is not very accepted. And this is multi-shopping gloves, if you want to shop more. So I just put hooks on the gloves. Does not work. Making coffee straight into the cup. So it's just like ideas, and I was just exploring. This is a very old object. I really like 70s objects. So this is an object that is used to slice meat, and you know they used to be in every house. And then I put a music box into it, so when you slice, you know, it makes a very beautiful sound. Traveling phone. So I was this was before. Yeah, and this is a vacuumer, outdoor vacuumer. I was pretending to live on it as well. A hot seat, so it's a hair dryer that I made into a very warm seat. Table for two. And then I made a few vehicles and I made a video that you can actually see on YouTube. It's called Mobiler. So I made a few vehicles out of found objects that function in a very obscure way. And then I took it out to the Icelandic nature and was sort of imagining I was always finding a new it was a bit Buster Keaton inspired. So it was just like finding a new vehicle, you know, and trying to get...
Injured?
Well, almost. And the funny thing was, when I was shooting it, it started snowing heavily. It started, you know, clear, and then it started snowing. So I was almost like, it was really cold, and I was very tired after it. So it ends as if it's, you know, not gonna work. And this is objects that I was just pretending to be really safety, or sort of like had a lot of fear of things that could happen in your home. So I was just sort of like adjusting safety equipment from all over to your home. So cooking with this mask and preventing flies to appear in the toilet. This was before COVID, of course. Now this would make perfect sense. Yeah. And vacuuming with something on your head. So it's not really, some of it makes sense. And this was an extension, so you don't have to stand up if the television is on fire. So you can just, you know, sit and shower. And this is not to make the toilet dirty, so it's a tube that you pee into. And this was a stabilizer, so you don't fall if you're a bit sort of wobbly. But actually, this is much harder for your head. I found out if you have an extension, it hits the head harder. And cups with chains, safety belt in the bath, smoking, safe smoking.
I want this for my wallpaper.
Yeah. Or for your smoking. You know.
Wow.
Yeah, and just safe kitchen. This is a safe kitchen as well. And then I made a few instruments out of home utensils. It was like out of a mixer and So this is a drum that really, so the idea was, you know, you can do housework and have fun at the same time and make music. And this was the same as the ttir before, it has a music box in it. And this is to sew on a, don't know the word for klukkuspil. Glockenspiel, no. In German. It is a xylophone or something. Xylophone. Yeah. So you could actually, you know, hit it with the sewing machine, and it actually works. I also did a video with that is on YouTube as well. It's called Playtime, so you can also look at that. And there I just wanted to mix the sort of movement of reading a book and playing the accordion. And this is a hairdryer, 70s hairdryer, so I closed the holes on the hat so the air goes straight into the flute as well. And it actually works, it's much fun to play it. And there I just combined, you know, the movement of ironing and playing a cello. So I built a cello that actually works.
An ironing board.
Yeah, it's an ironing board and then an ironing bolt that plays it. And that actually works. I had help from a fiddle builder, or, you know, so it was sort of professional in a way. And the telephone, just like mixing up systems, mixing up a telephone with a clock, but of course these are old objects, so some of the systems are very outdated. And their diet, you know. And this was just a coffee grinder, so if I put it on, it looked like it was a big flower bunch. When it turned, cleaning with shoes. And this was a vacuumer that I made into a CD player. Ballerina, so you could be your own ballerina. You can stand on it and turn around, make yourself turn. Traveling toilet paper. And if you're lazy and you can't move your feet, you can help with your hands. And there's just showering in the fire extension. And these are, again, objects, mobile objects, vehicles, that I just sort of combined, you know, an office chair with a bicycle for children. And this as well, that you can drive people around in. And then I made a few, I made a playground out of sort of office furniture. So this like jumps around, and the swings with really nice chairs, and the slope with the chair. It's not very easy to get into it, but it's very nice to slide down. And this one is on a, you know, it's just a mixing together these playground objects. So this really sways to all different sides. This is an instrument to play on that I made out of old, I don't know the English word for it. It's something you use to make fire grow bigger, you know, like the air pump. Yeah. So I used a lot of air pumps to blow into tubes, so it's an organ, or do you call it an organ? Yeah. So it makes very funny sounds. And all of this is something I have used in the theater. So I'm just going through it quickly, but it's for, you know, over 20 years, this period of making these and using them in the theater. This is a loom that is a cello, or a mixture of a cello and a bass, that also works quite well to play on. So when you usually this is used to sort of make the loom be sort of tight, and that you can use to sort of make the tone go like that when you play on it.
How did you tune it? I see it has 8 strings, right?
Yeah. How did I tune it?
Yes. Standard tuning?
Yeah, a mixture, you know. It's its own species in a way. So I can't.
Do you make the instruments to be able to cooperate with?
Yeah. I had a musician playing on it, so it's been used in more than one place.
Nice.
Yeah. And this is like, actually these objects that I'm showing you now, they were all based on like Icelandic methods of working like 300 years ago. So they're a bit sort of funny objects that relate to Icelandic household, objects. So this was something that was used to cut down dirt, but I changed it into a sort of a sound box, or it like played with the pins. It played on the tubes that hang there. It's much more fun if you would see the objects, but then I could play them. And this is what do you call this object that to make thread out of? Yeah, it's well, but do you know what it is? Yeah. So it was just combining, a hi-hat that is, with a pedal and this object, so you could sort of spin it, and play the hi-hat at the same time. And that actually worked also quite well. And then I put sort of strings here in it. It's the same object. And what, did you find the word for it? No.
Sorry, it's something outside of it.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, so I put string in this, and then just one metal object that sort of picked up the tones from the strings when you put the pedal, use the pedal. And this is the same object, but just a basic, like a bass drum. Another sound box of a coffee grinder. And this is something we use to make butter. Yeah. So I used a guica, we call it. It's an instrument that has a skin, drum skin, and then it has this bamboo stick, and it makes like this sound. And then this is from later. I had this idea. I was always changing objects into instruments, and then at one point I thought it would be nice to. It's a circle. It would be nice to combine Volkswagen, Beetle Volkswagen, and grand piano. It was just the idea, that you open it at the front and sort of, So I really wanted to do that. And I bought a Beetle, an old one, and a grand piano, a small one. But the grand piano was bigger than the car. So I thought, okay, I need a bigger car, obviously. So I bought a bus. And I put the grand piano in the middle of the bus. And I had to study for 2 months to have the license to drive the bus. And then I have a very close friend that I've worked with a lot, a musician who's a pianist. David Thor is his name, Jónsson. And so we had this sort of performance concerts in the bus. It lasted for an hour, and he just played a concert in the car, and I drove around Reykjavik. And then we picked up people on the way, so we had sort of different acts on the way, people entering the bus, singing one song, or entering the bus with a multi-drum on the back and walking back and forth in the car. It was great fun. So this is me driving, and we had chandeliers, so we really made it into a concert hall, a classical concert hall.
Do you still have that bus?
I gave it to a mechanic guy. So the deal is I can drive it whenever I like, and he takes care of it.
Oh, good deal.
So it's a perfect deal, yeah.
But when was the last time you drove it?
It's a few years though, because he had to repair it a lot. It was really old. And I found out it was too much time and too expensive for me to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are just pictures from that. We had a lifeguard, and there was a lot. This is one of the performance women who entered the car. So it was a period, you know, we were following sort of like post-war period, like with all the looks and costumes and sort of 1950s theme. And then I did this performance in a gallery that I called The Wife of the Pharmacist, because it was a house. It's a gallery that was built around a house that a family lived in. And I found a lot of objects from the wife of the pharmacist who had lived in this house. So it's a bit strange. It was a pharmacy, and then they built an art gallery around it. And they still have the living room inside of the art gallery space. So it's really strange, with windows and everything inside of the gallery. So we had this performance where I used the objects I found in the house from this wife of the pharmacist. And I imagined, because the story told that she never left the house, she was really sort of isolated and just wanted to hide. So the performance was all about hiding. So I was just using her objects to walk from right to left, and the audience was like a peeping Tom looking through the window into the living room of this woman. So.
And where is this building?
It's in Hafnarfjörður. It's very close by. It's just the next town to here. Yeah.
Which building is it?
It's in Hafnarborg.
Oh, Hafnarborg.
Yeah. It's the sort of biggest art museum in Hafnarfjörður.
Yes.
So these are just all kinds of objects I found that I was using. Her ski, and you know, just playing around skiing on the carpet, and you know, just like imagining she was there the whole day, just trying to let time get by. And she couldn't have children, so I was using the objects as children also. So that was also fun, and I had a pianist playing, the same pianist with me. So there was a grand piano in the living room as well. Rolling in the mattress. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the, I'm trying to go fast. So this is, 20 years ago, 2003, because all of my work was always very performance-based, I made my first sort of theater work. And then we made a show called Common Nonsense, which is the name of the company. And we used these objects just to play around and devise a show. So it was like 60 or 70 objects, and I had called them sculptures, but they were called props now, which is fine, but it's so it's the same. And there, as you can see, I'm using the objects that I just showed you. And there we had 4 actors and a singer, opera singer. So I've worked a lot with musicians. It's very often quite music related, my work. Yeah, wait. Okay, and there's the cello and the opera singer, we used that. And then we started making more of plays with different sort of, it was not all about nonsense. It was about all kinds of different stuff. So this play was based on the work of, I don't know if you know Hugleikur Dagsson. He's an Icelandic cartoonist. He draws sort of one-liners. It's all like jokes that are like one-page jokes. He's quite funny.
Inappropriate.
Very inappropriate. I recommend checking. He has a lot of books in English as well, and it's very popular in Finland. So the idea was to take his work and make a devised play out of his drawings and create characters out of them, and that was really, really nice. Yes, so I have been working in the theater for 20 years now, and what I found is sort of this inventive element that I have been using in my work outside of the theater is sort of the same in the theater. It's this approaching from a different angle and sort of, exploding the box, if you could say that. So I'll just go quickly. This was a ttir that I made out of inflatable castle for children. So she talked sort of constantly, so we filled her dress up with air, and she just became like huge, almost filled the stage. And this is a play we did in the National Theatre called Abortion, the Musical. And that was also based on the work of this Icelandic man, Hugleikur Dagsson. So these are pictures from that. And there we worked with a very posh furniture store in Iceland to get sort of real posh furniture, and we made a catalogue out of the show for the shop that they could sort of sell or use to sell their furniture. Yeah, so these are just, here is the object I showed you before. It's just so dark. It's this, to spin the thread object that this musician was playing. So that was a play we did in the National as well. I always say we, because it's a company. And then this was Falling in Love with My KitchenAid was the name of it. And there we were also devising out of objects. So this was a dance couple that was the theme of it. And we used all kinds of different sort of machines, mixers, and like a huge mixer. So in the end, we connected all the furniture to a huge, mixer from a bakery, and the mixer sort of pulled in all of the set, so it ended sort of as a crowd around the mixer. That was also fun. And this is a play we made about my mother and her Puerto Rican background. She was the daughter of a soldier in the Second World War. So it was a play based on her story. And this is my husband. He played her. So it was also a devised play. And then this is a recent play. I'm just gonna sort of go through it because these are more like set designs. This is a set that is from a Finnish play and was about a woman who was also traumatized after the Second World War and was a hoarder, so she filled her house with jars of food, and we sort of interpreted her as a spider. So it was the set from front was just a normal wallpaper, but then if you backlit it, it became like a spider web. And then this is a very fascinating material. I don't know if you have worked with it. It's like a mirror plastic film that you can put on glass. And if you have the light in front, it is like a mirror, and you just, can mirror yourself in it. And if you put the light behind, and you don't see what is behind. And so if you want to do a magic trick, it's a very good, fabric or material. And then if you put the light behind, a person appears and just seems to be there. So it's put on a glass. You might have seen it in like big glass houses. if you walk past it during the day, you see yourself, but in the night you see people working in the office. So it's that kind of material. So like this, for example, you can see they are mirrored, these two actresses, but he's behind. So it just like appeared and then just disappeared. Yeah, and this is just also a set that was quite, we used, block the ceiling as well, which is always the light designers don't like that very much if you block the ceiling, but it can be nice to make a complete space. I'm just going fast through a lot of it, if you don't mind. Yeah, this is Hamlet, of Mice and Men, sorry. This is again the Spider Woman. As you can see the difference, which is nice. So it's also a bit of magic. And then this is Pippi Langstrump. I don't know if you have that.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone has it. And there, of course, I loved making that because I could use a lot of my mixture of, so her furniture in the kitchen were like a playground, was like a playground. So you could sort of jump around it all and put chairs on outside. And this is the part of her bed. So I was really playing around with objects. And this was also nice. This was, I only used red sand to make the space on the floor of the stage. And it was really interesting to realize that you can make a space with so little, with the right light and just like this material on the floor that I made into a three-dimensional floor. So it was wider at the front and then it went sort of in at the back, so it was like a triangle. And the actors never left it, and there were walls, You just felt it was like a closed space, although it was completely open. So that was very interesting. And this is Icelandic Njála. I don't know if you know it's like the Icelandic sagas. Does anyone know Njála? No.
Icelandic sagas is the oldest literature in the world.
Yeah, so it's something we're very proud of.
It was preserved through the sagas, which were written by the settlers
Yeah,
in Iceland. So it's a really unique
Yeah.
cultural heritage.
yeah. And so like Game of Thrones and all that kind of is all sort of comes from that.
When was it written? You said it was the oldest.
Around 1100 or something.
Yeah, 1200.
Yeah. So it's very old.
So
But
wasn't Gilgamesh considered the oldest, or it's not exactly true?
what?
Wasn't the saga of Gilgamesh considered the oldest?
I don't know. Possibly. We can Google it.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was because they were always sailing, but I didn't want to make a Viking ship, so I made Titanic. And we used that to sail in and out of the space. This is Mamma Mia, you probably all know that. And there I love working with musicians. I put them inside of the garden house, so they were playing there, and then in the end of the show it opened up the garden house and we could see them.
And do you have some kind of music education or something like that? Because music was always kind of part of your
I
way
think
of making these instruments. Do
Yeah.
you play something? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I just like probably everyone, I just played the flute and the piano a bit, and I was always in a choir, like I think every Icelander. Icelanders love choirs. Probably because we're few, and so and it's very dark for a very long time in the winter, and this is what people do with their time, so especially in the small villages around the coast. Yeah, so just something like that. Yeah, I just love music. I have a daughter who's a musician, but I didn't know that when I was making all this.
You were projecting her.
Yeah. I obviously made her into a musician, and actually now she works with me in the theater. Yeah, and this is a play we made about the Icelandic financial crisis. We had a financial crisis in 2008, so we made a play about that. But it was quite abstract as well, as you can see. This is a children's play. So I've been taking part in so many plays in the City Theatre and the National Theatre, children's plays and musicals and devised work and drama, Shakespeare. I'm just sort of loving working all over the place. And this is Rocky Horror. This is Richard III. There I actually used material that I liked a lot. I used black confetti, and it really looked like everything was ruined. Surprisingly, it just looked like some war leftovers. We just spread it all over the floor. So that was a very nice material to work with. And this is an Icelandic musical about an Icelandic rock star, which is going on now in the City Theatre, called 9 Lives. It's been running for 3 years because we had COVID in between, but it's very popular. And this is Matilda, do you know that? Yeah. So I just wanted to make because she's all about books and library, so I made like bookshelves that were sort of like as if they had been twisted, which was quite complicated, but I found a very simple way to do it. We just made a shelf that was sort of like wavy, and then we just made 36 the same shelves, so it's just like the same shelf repeated 36 times, and then we just put one pole in the middle and just always turned each shelf a bit. So that's how we could sort of obscure it so much. But this was quite a technical piece, obviously.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. And then you could turn it on the side, and then it looked like this. So it was just on the revolve. More of this. This was Romeo and Juliet. And that was also, we turned it into a musical. And I'm hoping I'm getting to the last one. So much. With the puppets. Should be there. So this is the play I just finished making. And I was working with a, do you call it a puppeteer? She's a maker.
Yes.
Yeah. So she does not control the puppets. Yeah. And the play is all about rats. So we had to make everything in the proportion, to scale everything up. So the cat is 2.3 meters high. And we were wondering how we could fit it on stage with all the set. So we decided to have it in parts. Maybe I should show you the drawings of it. Maybe it's in this one. Yeah. we sort of just started first we just drew a cat, and then we just started putting it into sections. What is the most important part of it? And so in the end it was the head, the front legs, and the back leg with a tail attached. And the name of the puppeteer is Charlie Timms. I don't know if you know her. She did Life of Pi. Yeah, now recently in London. And she's a great craftswoman. So that was very sort of successful and worked out really well. It was quite difficult for the actors, of course. I'm gonna try to go back to where I ended. Oh my God. Yeah. So here you see it as well. So there you can see the sections better. But we had to make sort of like belts. It's like a backpack with structure on top, so the actors could carry it. So both the front legs and the back legs is an actor with a backpack. And then Charlie is more used to working with plastic, sotoplast. Do you know that material? It's like a very light plastic material, but I really wanted it to be more of a grit. So we made it out of bamboo and plastic, because it's also about recycling this play. It's very much about what we throw out and leave behind us. So that's what we based it on. And this is a Euro pallet, a large one. Yeah, I think there should be one. And then this bird was also huge. So this was with 5 puppeteers controlling it. And so one was holding the body, one was holding the feet, one was holding the head, and 2 were holding the wings. And it's like a 5-meter wingspan to control it. So this took us, I think, a year to make, from the time we started just meeting and until on stage. And this just premiered on Sunday.
This is the one.
Yeah.
We missed.
You missed it.
Yeah, because we arrived on Sunday and just on Monday we checked what's on. We saw that yesterday there was a premiere.
And will you be gone on Saturday?
Yeah, we're leaving tomorrow, so
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Next time.
Next time, yeah. But you can probably just see videos of it. Maybe they already have some trailer or something, possibly.
Yeah, we'll check
So
on
then
the
you can
website.
see that at least. We also made a seal. I don't think I have a picture of it ready. Yeah, there you see the cat butter. We also made a seal, and that was the same problem, because Charlie made a model, just a complete seal, but we didn't have space. So we made the head, the wing, I don't know what you call it, and the tail of the seal. And so we just used silk, and the head came swimming in, and then the actor was thrown into the sea, and then we saw the actor in the mouth of the seal, and then we saw, it swimming out with him, and then we had the wing and then the tail. So it appears to be like 10 meters long or something, but it's just 3 relatively small objects. So that was also quite interesting. Yeah. Is there something you want to ask me?
Very interesting.
So this is sort of like, just to say, for me it all relates, the objects, the exploring the objects and the performance with the objects, the theater work, both with, I think it's really good to both how you make objects, how you use them, and the story you want to tell. For me, this sort of all relates. So I'm very sort of object-based, or I really like to explore objects, but always in relation to how you perform, and to give the performer a richer, story to work with. That's what I feel, and it really, I think it all works together. I both work in the visual arts field, exhibiting in galleries or performing, as well as working in the theatre full time. So I think it's all supporting each other very well, or that's my feeling. It's not taking away from each other like it might do. It's just sort of like, I always feel everything is sort of making me bigger and have more experience in both fields. So it's working well together. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ilmur.
Yeah.
And again, we are watching time.
Of course.
If
Thank you. If there's anything you want to ask me, practical or whatever, no problem.
How can we find you on YouTube?
It's Mobiler, and it's Ilmur Stefansdo, just my name. Mobiler is M.
Can you write
Yes.
it down for us?
Sorry.
But Ilmur has been, I don't know how many states or settings have you made, really? I mean,
I don't know, 60 maybe?
60? Wow. And her husband is an actor at the City State
Yeah,
Theatre.
yeah.
She doesn't know it, but we studied opera singing together when we were
Oh, really?
teenagers. Yes, in
You and
Garðabær.
him? Oh,
Yes.
really?
Well, I mean,
Maybe
I
that's
don't
my
think-
music interest. Him.
I don't think he intended, and then I can't remember, it was 2 years, but I was doing opera singing for the opera singer. I think he was already in acting school, so a lot of actors, practice their voice. And,
So you love actors.
yeah.
I love actors. I had an ex, partner as well who was an actor.
Wow. You don't learn from your mistakes.
No, never.